This is about 10 young women who are coming of age in the occupied Palestinian West Bank, a place that has both traditional and modern cultures and a wide range of social classes and political systems. Palestinians have lived under the occupation of Israel since 1948. In 1917, Great Britain issued the Balfour Declaration to provide a homeland for European Jews. The Arab population in Mandate Palestine was under the British civil administration since 1920. During the British Mandate of Palestine, Jewish immigration was facilitated, and the British new policies, laws, and practices supported and favored the Jews over the Arabs. In 1947, the UN, without consent from the Palestinians or the Arabs, issued the United Nations Resolution 181 that divided Palestine into two states, one for Jews and one for Arabs. The 1948 war came as a destructive consequence for the creation of the State of Israel that displaced and exiled more than 800,000 Palestinians from their homes and native land. This was the start of the Palestinian refugee crisis, which continues to this day. While Israel was supposed to be created on 53% of the land, the newly created State of Israel occupied 78% of the land by 1949 and expanded after the 1967 war, in which all of Palestine became under military control. Palestinians under military occupation are not free to move around. They're subjected to personal searches and inspections at military checkpoints. Prior travel permits are required, but many Palestinians don't receive these permissions. The power of Israel and its control of the land, air, and sea routes into Palestinian territories make any attempt to develop the Palestinian economy impossible. This control and domination create poverty, unemployment, and a grim outlook for Palestinians who have no means of military power to defend themselves. Palestinians are prevented to challenge Israeli practices and military rule, even by peaceful means. Sometimes, frustrated Palestinian teenagers resort to throwing rocks at Israeli troops, resulting in catastrophic retaliation from the Israeli army. The UN reports that in 2014, over 2,300 Palestinians were killed by Israeli attacks in reaction to the stone throwing. Palestinian women's plight has been intensified by the occupation. Palestinian women, even young girls, are forced to step outside their houses to become the breadwinners for their families. They have to work due to the fact that their men, whether fathers, brothers, or husbands, were either killed, injured, or imprisoned, losing a major family income provider, and have to step out to work. In addition, these young women may quit school to avoid degrading checkpoints and travel obstacles they face because of the occupation. These impositions create conflict not only within the family but in the larger society. Palestinian women are not immune from Israeli oppression. They are subjected to imprisonment, harassment, and military assaults, sometimes in response to driving their resisting husbands to demonstrations or attempting to travel to see trapped families living on the other side of forbidden areas. Palestinian women have been killed throughout the existence of the occupation, hundreds indirectly due to the Israeli military practices such as the demolition of their houses or farms, and many killed actively resisting the occupation. In the summer of 2015, I traveled to the West Bank to visit the area. I examined the life and aspirations of young Palestinians and spoke with 10 college-bound or college-educated women. They are not necessarily representative of all women. Their stories tell us of the existence of such issues and point to further research. In unstructured interviews, I started with these questions. How does Israel's occupation of Palestine affect you? Why do you wear the Islamic scarf? How do you find a marriage partner? Discussions from these questions produced many interesting comments and themes.
For me, that meeting new people from other places, it's a little bit happen for me to travel even. It's not so easy for us to travel always, or like every vacation we can travel. It's hard.
And also not to get insulted, like everything we do, especially in moving from place to place, we really got insulted. And
by the occupation,
Yeah.
the soldiers.
in many things, even in health, and like if we want many medicines we want, we can't get easily.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they make it hard, like on everyone. They make it really hard.
yeah.
Do things.
Also, stress, shouting.
They put their stress on each other. That's what they do. Like the father would scream at the son. The son would hurt the weaker. That's what they do all the time. They get stressed on each other. Like we talk. I have a lot of friends from outside the country, so I talk with them. I use the media to talk with them, Facebook and Twitter and other things. And we usually post things about Palestine and the situation in general. But it's hard because Israel has it's more powerful and they have the stronger media and stuff. So they kind of control that. So they show the world their picture because we can't show ours because we're kind of weak.
This is what I wanted to say. Like we use media, and we would like to use media, but in the same time, media is so connected with the economic, and Israel got all the power. So, like they use the media better than us.
Yeah, and using social media with political posts or like sometimes it's so dangerous about any person. Yeah.
Really? So you think they would see it and they would
It happens. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's hard to say your opinion, what's happening in Palestine or any political things. It's like sometimes maybe it's causes for you problems. I felt like under Israeli camera and everywhere that you cannot feel safety and like they are know everything about you.
I think it's making me wanting to leave the country more and more.
Yeah.
That's what my personal idea. I just want to leave this country and live in somewhere safe where I can raise my future kids and work, and have a good life. That's what I think of. And maybe I'll come here for a visit just to see family and stuff. But to live here, it's really hard.
Okay, first of all, they talk about something important, not about their career, they're talking about their life. Because of occupation, they can't go out, they can't go to Jerusalem, they can't, it's hard for them to go in the checkpoint, it's hard for them to take the permission to go in, it's hard. Second of all, their work. She's saying if there is no occupation, it would be better. It would be that opportunity to do things, to work in something better. Hard because here the news, it's all about occupation, it's all about Palestine, and she always have to go in that place, and she will get tired, and they will have bomb on her, and sometimes her parents won't let her go. So it's hard. If she's outside, she can do much better. Maybe her dreams will come true more and more.
Are you willing to leave Palestine for work?
نفسك تطلعي برا فلسطين عشان تشتغلي؟ Yes, she's willing. وانتو? Yeah. They love their land. They want to stay here, but they want to, like I told you, they want to have the opportunity to their dreams to come true more and more and to have fun, because here, you know.
We have different opinion about scarf. I think about it a lot before I wear it. Maybe for 2 years before I wear the hijab. Maybe I convinced of it intrinsically. I don't know why, but I convinced with when I wear it. Then I back to home. My father and mother amazed of it, and they told me undress it, just unwear it.
Do not wear it.
Do not wear it. I told them no. I'm convinced of hijab, and I feel comfortable when I wear it, especially when I pass through a street full of guys, and you know.
Why? What happens?
Because they keep give comments about girls without hijab here. But Iman, different story.
So are you religious?
Yeah, I'm Muslim. Here, Muslim in general wear hijab because it is one item of our basic Islamic foundation.
So that's mainly why you wear it?
Oh yeah, this is one of my thoughts that Islam advise us to wear hijab because it is more for women, comfortable for women, more protective for women. Only. She wear it. She did not convinced of hijab. She tried to undress it, to undress the hijab, but she can't because she tried to undress it and go to the street, but she can't since she wear it since 19 years. So that seems to be part of her look or part of her identity. Let me say.
Are you religious? Do you wear it for religious reasons?
بس عشان يعني اشياء دينيه او عشان
لا عشان انه العادات والتقاليد انه انت مثلا صرتي عمرك هالقد وصار عندك جسم معين فانه لازم تلبسي.
No, not about religious. She wear it since she wear it because it is the culture norms, and because of her physical advance only. It's opinions. Everyone here has opinions. So I have friends. I have Christian friends. I have Muslim friends without hijab. So it's not different. There is no her opinion that there is different opinions here. She convinced that every girl doesn't have to wear a hijab unless she's convinced 100% of a hijab. Unless she doesn't have to wear it. Yani.
They're gonna wear it this year. She's gonna wear it the next year. There is an age, like when you're 17, 18, you have to wear it in here. It's up to them. Their parents don't make them. They don't force them to be religious, and they're not that religious. And she told me if I want to be without hijab, my parents won't force me to do that. So yes, they're not that religious. And if they're Muslim, doesn't mean that they have to stay at home. She's saying like that.
She's saying this is enforced by religion, first of all, and also the environment where she lives. It enforces the girl at very young age to cover her head and to be a practicing Muslim as well. So the environment has some kind of influence on. For her, she is convinced to put it on. not her family, not the environment, for in her case. Yeah, she says also that she knows that this is Islamic order from the Quran, and also she says the traditions here in the camp, they are like social forces that will keep pushing you to put it on. They live very close to each other. They watch each other, what they wear, and they keep commenting on what you wear as a female in the camp, because their houses are very close and they are relatives most of the time, living next to each other. He says that she never felt like it is stigmatized by her friends to put hijab on, and that applies to them when they. Yes, exactly. They don't treat their friends like. Because you are not wearing this is not good, or it's up to them. She said we just leave it to them to believe in it or not. هتلاقي زوج. The opposite is taking place. Like if you are with hijab, your chances is much better than without the hijab. That's what they are saying. Oh yeah.
There is very, your question is on the spot, because here I live in Bethlehem. In Bethlehem, there is no hijab a lot like here, and people are not close to religious a lot. But when I came here to Ramallah, I live alone because I continue my master degree. So. There in Bethlehem, it's okay if girls doesn't wear hijab. But here, when a guy wants a girl for marriage, he chooses one of hijab because that's more protective. And they said that girl like a chocolate. If it's opened, then the insects will eat part of her, but if she's protective and covered, so she will be more protective. But if they want to have a friendship or relationships, they choose one of without hijab. But when they want to marry, they marry one hijab. But here there is environmental differences, like guys in a city different than guys in a village. In the village, they are more protective, they require hijab. But Iman said that girls around her and guys around her, it doesn't matter hijab. Since she has a friend, girlfriend, she doesn't wear hijab and she will engage nearly. So her love doesn't require from her to wear hijab. She said that no, we don't go to a guy and tell him that I love you or shall you marry me. No, but we can, by non-verbal communication, by body language, gestures, tell him that yeah, I accept you. You can come. But without verbal communication, no at all.
So you are not going to date. Do you know what the
yeah. Meeting, like a meeting. Here, yes, but we hide from our parents, and we go dating, but without my family. There is no. No.
What are you saying?
We said that we need two good guys, one for me, one for her, even if he's outside the country.
So
it will be more
بطل هو
better.
الاحتياج يعني انتم فاهم انه بطل احتياج انه انا
اسكت لا هو الاحتياج خليه يجيب لنا عرسان. If you
بطل
can bring two guys, it's okay. I can tell my family about the guy, but if he has to come with his family, not alone, in order for something like official, like ring or engagement or something like this, but without relationship, no. كأنه عادي الشباب يجوا عندكم على الدار وهيك بحكي لها لا يعني إنه إذا خطبوا مش خطبوا.
So will, by the time you two get married,
إن شاء الله.
will you need to know the guy very well, or are you just going to have some strange guy come and select you?
Listen, there is two ways. One way is the traditional one, in which my neighborhood, my cousin tell a guy that there is my cousin, she's pretty and she's good, come and but the other the other way is love, but we hide of family. But in my opinion, it's good to have a traditional one. I did not refuse anyway. It's okay if he's a good person. Even the traditional one, the guy come to my home and we sit for maybe 7 or 8, 10 sessions. Then I can decide if it's okay or not. I can, but in front of my family.
What is the traditional way?
Yeah, they do it sometimes. The man came and see if he like the woman, then
It's mostly in villages and towns.
Yeah.
It's not in cities. Like, it's only in villages and towns. Like the guy and his mom would go to the girl's house and she would bring coffee and he'd bring coffee. He'll see if he likes her or not. Then they'll come back for another visit if he does. And yeah, she'll say yes or no. And then they'll get married, have babies. That's what happens.
Have you had friends like that?
Yes, I do. Because like in college we do have some friends from villages and towns. So yeah, they mostly do that. But my friends from cities and other places, they don't. They get in love. It's okay to get in love here and get into relationships and stuff. And that's how they get married. Most of my family, that's what they did. My sister got married after a long love story. And that's what my parents did as well. So it's not like all the time arranged marriages.
But there's some limits. Like it's okay to get in a love story, but there's limits more than
Like the sexual part, that's what she means with limits. Like you can have a boyfriend, but you can't have sex with him. So yeah, that's the limit, the culture limit.
And sometimes not letting people know that you got a boyfriend, maybe as a friend, like to introduce him as a friend, not a boyfriend.
sometimes like what Siwar said, you have to, he is my friend, not my boyfriend, because the people are always talking.
Yeah, they will talk about you if you have to.
Especially if they broke up. Like I feel people here love the happy endings, so they always want any two couples to get married. If they didn't get married, then there's an issue, and most of the time in the girl, not in the guy. Yeah, that's a problem.
For me, they are. It's normal thing that in the villages to do that, to get married in a traditional way. It's normal, unless they are going out to the city and see people fall in love. So maybe they will start to not follow the village with our in traditional way.
Yeah, if they see.
But a little bit of them
But some of them are happy also. Some of them.
are happy with the traditional way.
I think
Yeah.
they're just happy
Because
because they
they
don't
are-
see other.
Yeah.
They haven't experienced the freedom, so that's why they're happy in what they have, because they've never experienced something better, I guess.
I did, but the weird thing, he was the Eastern guy, not Western.
He was Western?
He was European.
Oh, really?
He didn't bring his mama, he bring his bicycle. Maybe because it's a typical idea of the Arabic woman. So he saw me in the street and he was on his bicycle and then he followed me to the house and I told
That's
him,
stalking.
yeah, I told him, I don't want to get married. He said, you Arab, when a guy wants to marry you, he goes to your parents' house. I said, if my parents saw you, they will kick you. But kill you. Yeah, but he did. He came, and we told him that it doesn't work always like here in Palestine. It was funny. It was really funny, but I was a bit scared because this is really weird.
Like this. She told me he likes her face or her attitudes or her everything. He likes her and he go to her parents and he said, I want this girl, and they got married. Her sister, her relative from the mother's side, okay, he was in love with her when she was a kid, and they stayed loving each other, and they got married, and the love was bigger, and they got married, and then he died by occupation. Yes, and this is him.
Were they cousins?
They're cousins, yeah. Love marriage, مش arranged. They're gonna married by love marriage. No, مش arranged.
What about did their parents want that?
وبيسأل أسئلة يعني مش المفروض يسألها. أهلكم رح يقبلوا عن إنه تكونوا تحبوا واحد ويعرفوا عنه؟ Of course they're not gonna tell them. No, they're not gonna tell them. It's gonna be snitching. Yeah, okay, so they're gonna love each other. And then after years, he's gonna go and take her from her parents, but without telling them that they were in a relationship. A lot of them they have the arranged marriage. They married siblings, كتير, a lot, siblings.
Sibling, like brother, sister?
No, siblings like cousins.
Okay, siblings are considered brother, sister.
Okay, so we call cousins. Okay, cousins. They married cousins, and what else? But the love marriage is not that much.
يمكن كانت بين يمكن لهجتنا مش مدنية مش خليجية.
For Siham, she says that they distinguish between like girls from camp and girls from city because of the accent. They can recognize that you are from a camp based on the accent. And for her, when you apply for work, if you say that you are from the camp, right away they will not accept your application. But if you switch to, for example, to the village next to the camp, you will be hired, you will get the job. So there is a discrimination against people.
The occupation and resistance have created another source of social status for Palestinian youth. A badge of courage is earned for those who resist the occupiers. Young men who march the streets and throw rocks are granted status by their peers and community. This might be likened to a tribal rite of passage for youth who have had their first hunt. Opposing, fighting, and resisting the Israeli occupation are the activities that reinforce patriotism and male bonding. However, more females are visibly participating in the resistance, such as the well-known Tamimi girls in Nabi Saleh. Though the occupation might have intensified oppression over Palestinians in general, the influence of Western culture, meanwhile, contributes to changes in gender roles in the modern Palestinian society.
All our women are participating. And the Palestinian women are participating in all type of the Palestinian resistance, armed or unarmed resistance. We have, as a Palestinian, we have open mentality for the women. Our women participate us in all our daily life and daily act. Our women is part of our society, part of our struggle, part of our culture, part of our life. In some way, we are in Arab society. Some traditional way of dealing with the woman, for her dress or for something like that. But it's not mean because it's wear the hijab, she can't go out of her home to struggle and to participate on the resistance. Or in the Palestinian society, we see part of the class that who lead the society is the ex-prisoners, or as you say, a martyrs family. This is part of the respect, or part of the price, or the something the society give the people who lose for their issue.
Yeah, reward for patriotism.
For what they are doing. This means, yes, as you told you, it's a lot of prestige and a type of a position in the society comes through. You are come from the way that the Palestinian society respects. It's the way of resistance and the way of fight for your issue.
Demonstrations across Palestine provide many opportunities for youth to exhibit courage and patriotism, often by throwing rocks at the Israeli troops and resisting the Israeli occupation. While these incidents elicit shows of force and tear gas from the troops, arrests and shootings do occur. It's ironic that in a Palestinian society, imprisonment or injury increases one's prestige among Palestinian peers. Many of the men I met have been in prison because of their political views and resistance activities against the Israeli occupation. Meanwhile, the highest status is granted to martyrs who have died in these acts. The shadow of this status is passed on to their families, including daughters and sisters of martyrs. Their reputation enhances these women's status to the point which they are sought after for marriage. The occupation's effect on social status has many implications for young women, including increasing their marriage opportunities, acquiring status by visibly resisting and throwing stones at the occupation, or even getting imprisoned or killed.
See, they are saying that this is an honor for the girl if she has a martyr brother, you know. It's an honor, and people usually, they look for the girls in these families to propose.
Palestinians live in a close-knit society where personal relationships are significant. Prestige and stigma serve as effective social controls on behavior in such occupied society. The negative influence of the occupation has some positive impact over women. In general, the negative outcomes from the occupation, such as resistance, refugee camps, and martyrdom, mediate women's social status and influence the aspirations of young Palestinians. The following themes have emerged from these discussions. The occupation affects Palestinians' social class and status. Being forced off their land, most residents can no longer be as productive or self-sufficient as before and have become refugees in their own country, a degraded status. Because of their precarious and impoverished state, refugees are perceived by others, even other Palestinians, as being in a lower class. Some girls mention that they would likely have to leave Palestine to find work and to travel freely. The poor economic prospects and military checkpoints intensify the poor living and working conditions. The Islamic scarf remains a visible symbol of being a devout Muslim. However, many women, particularly in higher social classes, are not wearing the scarf. Globalization, mass media, and modern interpretations of religion and personal freedom may cause these women to uncover their hair and dress like Westerners. Some have mentioned that it is a personal decision and that there is little external pressure to wear it. And some from the refugee camps suggested that those who wore the scarf were more desirable as future wives than those who did not cover. Those who participate in the activities against the Israeli occupation, perhaps by throwing rocks, can gain prestige from their peers and community. They demonstrate loyalty to Palestine while risking arrest, imprisonment, or even death. The incarcerated in Palestine are not stigmatized, but rather are held in high esteem. While most resistors have been male, more females are visibly resisting the occupation. Perhaps this is made easier by online social media and due to the long term of the occupation. Traditionally, women who have been injured or killed by the Israelis were in a defensive mode, such as protecting their families or houses. However, girls like Jana and Ahed Tamimi from Nabi Sela are directly confronting Israeli soldiers. The ultimate manifestation of resistance in the form of death can generate prestige and a long-lasting reputation for the martyr and be transferred to his family. Daughters and sisters of martyrs will be sought after for marriage. These observations suggest that despite these unstable conditions caused by the occupation, basic personal goals are still sought. For young Palestinian women, work and marriage are still important and significant even under adverse conditions. The path to their aspirations will be affected, but life goes on.